this way. All right, sorry. It's just the way I was working out. Some of the external features, obviously, you see the mouth. I don't have the list, but, and you know, obviously you have the face. We're going to have to take off a lot of this fascia to get to the facial muscles. If you notice, there's actually buried in fat. You can actually see a hole where their ear, you know, the entrance into the head of the ear. Unfortunately, the actual cute ear is removed. Then there's not much to it.
Yeah.
But the basic parts of the mink, as you see in your handout, are the head, lovely, those sharp teeth. Then we've got the neck, which has a lot of fat that you're going to have to remove carefully. Then we have the thorax, or the chest area, the abdomen. When you cut around here, be careful you don't go too deep, because once you cut through the mesentery, you're going to have to deal with the lovely intestines and other internal organs. And then we have, you know, the back end of the mink. Well, and don't forget the tail, but. So here, a lot of this you can just take off straight, just by pulling with the probe. But in some places you need to be careful that you don't pull muscle from under it, such as right here. If I started pulling this fascia, I could get under this muscle, and I would take off that layer. I accidentally did that up here. You can see there's a slight tear in the muscle because I was pulling and getting under and wasn't careful enough. But in general, you can kind of get underneath and just pull with your tweezers. When you have a nice big part like this, so we call this the cape, and the cape is, well, we don't need it. We haven't really figured out what it is, but when you're taking this kind of fat off, if you use your probe right at where it's loosening, you can kind of just push it apart and not actually have to cut anything, so you're not going any deeper than you need to. So occasionally you have to break through a blood vessel, but you just kind of push your way through to get further back. You know, don't go too far without double checking what you're doing so you don't get under something else and take it apart. Once you get some fat loose, it's kind of hard to pull it all off with the tweezers. What you can do is kind of start rubbing at it. It takes a lot of the moisture out of the fat and lets it, clean it up a little bit. So now you can kind of rub this away and be closer to the fascia. And then you just keep pulling. You play with tweezers for a very long time while doing this. Of course, you can do this with blunt probe too. I think that one's better evidence of it. And then you get this stuff. Your finger's going to be useless because they're going to be all greasy. Try not to throw your fat and fascia at anybody else. As you pull, sometimes things will kind of fly apart. Oh, here's a lovely one. Makes it a little easier to see how deep you need to go to. Of course, this one's deep. But right here is a good example of, there's a lot of fat back here, but right here is a layer of muscle. So I can really easily get under that muscle and start to create problems. So be careful to pull at the fat, not at the muscle here. Another very important thing as I get close to the back is, while there is a good amount of fat we need to remove from the anal region, there are also 2 anal glands buried in all of this fat. These are the scent glands made of that lovely apocrine tissue. And if I removed willy-nilly, I would probably burst one of those, and it would smell up the lab like skunk. Very few people will have this, but this is a male mink. We don't have many, and unfortunately they're not labeled when we do. So if you see that your mink has testicles, please inform your TA immediately so that we can make sure it's in good hands. If you don't trust your dissection skills, please ask your TA to trade your mink with another student who is more comfortable with dissecting, so that we can keep the male reproductive tract as whole as possible, since we only have a few of them.